My friend's boyfriend unofficially moved into our apartment without paying rent and gave me a list of rules to follow, but the only rules I follow are karma's. I'm exactly 28 years old, and a little over a year ago, I moved into my current apartment. You can't imagine how long I was looking for something like this. Just thinking about how I felt before having this apartment almost makes me cry because now, instead of a dream, it's turning into a nightmare. The worst part is that it's a nightmare of my own making. I moved here with my good friend Luna. No, her real name isn't Luna, it's a nickname I gave her, but don't expect me to use real names on the internet. Besides the nickname, none of the details in real life are true. So, I've known Luna for a while now, since we used to work together. We got along great and really cared for each other. Honestly, if I didn't care, I wouldn't be in this situation in the first place, and I would have gotten myself out of it a long time ago. Living together has been surprisingly better than I thought it would be. She's a much better cook than me, and pretty much every night we'd watch our favorite shows together. Almost every Friday night, we had a wine and charcuterie session. Since we moved in, we've become much better friends than we were before. Maybe it was the extra love and care I gained by moving in that pushed me to make that terrible decision. But no one can blame me because, at the time, it seemed like a great decision. I was just helping a friend out. You see, since I've known Luna, there's one thing I've noticed. She has unbelievably bad luck when it comes to dating. Seriously, if I hadn't seen so many of her relationships crash and burn, I wouldn't be saying this. I can say, without a doubt, that if there's a walking red flag within a 5-meter radius, she will immediately fall for him. I can't explain how her, quote-unquote, power works, or why she hasn't done the opposite of what she feels. If she did, she'd probably be married by now. But, you know, we have to live with the cards we're dealt. For a while, Luna was trying really hard to find a nice guy, and then, suddenly, she found Luke, a genuinely handsome dude that wasn't as much of a jerk as her usual type. I had to confirm multiple times to make sure there wasn't anything weird going on, because of Luna's track record, but the guy was genuinely interested in her, which made zero sense because Luna only attracted a different type of guy. She has this kind of curse that leads her to do something to ruin it, but then something happened that made me think otherwise. For the first time in a long time, I saw Luna unsure if she should date him. You have to understand, this never happens. Luna's favorite quote is, "Eyes closed, head forward, there's nothing to lose." So, you can see why I was surprised and why I felt that this time might be different. I truly haven't seen Luna this happy since we moved in or the time she dated a guy, and for a brief period, she thought he was in love with her. I don't think I have to explain how that ended. Now, fast forward a few months. Luna and Luke are in love, while I'm in hell. No, I'm not jealous of her, I'm very happy for her. I just wish I didn't have to experience her relationship as if I'm paying a monthly subscription for it. What I mean is that I don't feel comfortable with Luke being in our apartment all the time because I'm already about to move into a tent in the parking lot. I feel like I live with a tall annoying guy instead of with Luna, which would be okay if I had chosen to do that. But I haven't. When Luke started staying over at our place, I was more than happy to welcome him because he would only stay over 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes less. He's a clean, efficient guy who was more than happy to do any housework while he was at our apartment. At first, it was perfect, as I only had to see him in small doses. But little by little, he kept coming over more and more and more. I kept trying to gather the courage to tell Luna that I wasn't comfortable with Luke being here all the time. You have to understand, this is the first time I've seen Luna this happy, and I didn't want to ruin anything by changing even the smallest of things. So things kept getting worse, and at this point, Luke is in our apartment 5 to 6 days a week. Sometimes I see him more than Luna does. He's here when she isn't, too, and I really feel like I'm being the third wheel in my own place. But that's not even the end of my problems. You see, at first, I tried to bear with it for my friend's happiness, but things kept getting worse. Our activities together became their activities. They would do things without me, and watching anything together became a big deal because they would just watch stuff without me and spoil things when I did watch something. The worst part is Luke's rules. At first, it didn't bother me, but the more he spoke about his rules, the more I began to dislike him. Luke slowly started trying to tell me how I should be living in my own apartment. One morning, I just found a note saying that we should all start putting the dishes away immediately after using them, since it was more efficient. It blew my mind because this man, who wasn't paying rent or buying anything in the house, was trying to tell me how to do things. I ignored him, but his rules just kept growing. He tried to tell me I shouldn't leave my shoes where I had them because he didn't like the way they looked. I told him I'd think about it, but I didn't do anything. A few days later, I found that he had moved them himself, and he also changed the layout of our living rooms without discussion, because it was giving him negative vibes. I really wanted to strangle him and ask if he could read the vibe I was giving off. This sort of thing started happening daily, and I tried telling Luna that I wasn't happy with how things were going. I said things like, "Why does Luke even have an apartment if he lives here all the time?" And she just laughed it off. I also told her that I wasn't comfortable with him being here all the time. She told me that she'd try, that she was going to talk to him, but still hasn't done anything about it. I told her multiple times that I wasn't happy, but that obviously didn't change anything about her or even Luke's attitude. Which brings us to the breaking point, which is what I'm about to tell you all about now. So, a few days ago, we were watching something together, and Luke began giving me a lecture on how I was doing so many things wrong. Doing things his way would make my life so much better. I was already pretty frustrated with everything going on and the fact that everything was my fault. I was frustrated that I couldn't talk to Luna about it. So hearing all this really made me snap. I told him to stop, and we ended up arguing. In the heat of the moment, when he asked if he should just leave and make my life easier, I said yes. I explained that I'd be the happiest person in the world if he left. I asked him why he was paying rent for his apartment when he was living here for free. He told me that this was Luna's apartment too, and I said that maybe they should just get one together instead of making my life miserable. Neither of them liked that, and now I'm seen as the bad guy by them. I don't consider myself the bad guy, just tired of telling Luna again and again. I've also told Luke multiple times that I wasn't going to follow his rules because it's my apartment too, but ultimately it's Luna that should put a stop to things. It's fine by me that she's in love, but her boyfriend should have boundaries and not impose them on me. Maybe spend more time in his apartment together, or at least not try to tell me what to do. Luke isn't on the lease. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe. New stories every day. Update 1. I don't know if you guys remember me, but a few months ago, I posted here. I'm the person who's having trouble with her roommate's boyfriend, who unofficially moved in. No, this won't be a good news kind of update for you guys. Things don't seem to be getting better at all. Actually, things got a bit better and then went back to worse. Let me explain. A few days after my post, Luna was still not talking to me for yelling at her boyfriend. The tension was so thick, you could cut it with one of those expensive Japanese knives that Luke always recommends for good kitchen vibes. I know I made a mistake blowing up like that, but that's what happens when you try to make it known to your roommate and she doesn't listen or downplays it. It's not like I enjoy yelling at people, but I also know I'm not necessarily the bad guy here. Some of you guys told me that Luna should have realized it wasn't okay that he was here all the time, because we moved in, and we're both on the lease. For the people criticizing me for not having told Luna loud and clear that I wasn't okay with her boyfriend living here all the time, I have. But if you are like Luna, what I have said has gone in one ear and out the other. I also read a comment calling me jealous or that I want her boyfriend for myself. I don't want Luke for myself, he's not my type. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm told that my book on the nightstand is ruining the feng shui. I'm glad for her that Luke isn't the type of guy she used to date. Because even though he's annoying, he's a lot better than her previous ones, which says a lot. I just wish for a bit more boundaries. I wouldn't even be as bothered if he stayed over for multiple days. It's that he tried to impart boundaries as if he'd lived here forever. I've tried talking to Luna, but she would just ignore me, until a week ago, when she suddenly knocked on my bedroom door. It looked like she had just stopped crying and I assumed the worst. I asked her if she had broken up with Luke, and she smiled a little and said, "No, you wish." I then smiled and told her that I was about to buy some champagne, and she laughed. I asked her what had happened, and she told me that, for the past few days, She and Luke had been fighting. Turns out, after realizing everything that I was feeling, she thought about it and felt really bad for not having noticed it sooner. She told me that she had no idea how selfish she was being, only thinking of herself. She actually stood up for me and told Luke that they were both being a bit much and it wasn't my fault at all. Well, Luke realized that she was going to refuse to acknowledge that they had done anything wrong, so they've been arguing about that. She simply refused to take all the blame, but he eventually relented. That immensely improved things between her and me. I hugged her and we patched things up between us. She then told me that Luke wanted to talk to me, to apologize, and try to make things right with his girlfriend's friend because he really cared about Luna. So, the next day, Luke showed up and apologized. He told me he was being a bit too much with me, and I deserved to get called out as I did the other day. In the wake of all these apologies and acknowledgement, I apologized for yelling at him and things were better. He told me that if I could forget what happened this past while, things would be better from now on. He told me that from now on he would be a bit more careful not to overstep my boundaries. See, like I told you guys, things were actually great for a few weeks, until they went back to worse than before. A few days ago, Luke tells me he needs to talk to me. He told me that his apartment was going through urgent renovations and he had to find a place to stay for over a month. He told me that he'd love to move in for a while, but obviously wanted my permission because he didn't want to step over me. I thought about it for a moment because, well, you know, as Luna stared at me with her puppy dog eyes. I ended up saying yes. They both jumped for joy and we actually had a really fun night together. A week passed, and Luke started with his demands again. The list is quite interesting, but one of the funniest things is that he wants me to stop cooking some of my favorite dishes. All because he doesn't like the smell in the apartment, and because he also can't eat them because they don't agree with him. It's just tacos, but for him it's a cause of stress. Not only have I not stopped cooking them, but I have made it a special taco night, because remembering them made me hungry and just to annoy him. I'm being petty, but I'm also not going to put up with him playing the sad puppy card only to go back to his old self. At this point, I've talked it over with Luna, and told her it's either him or me. I've just informed her of this, and she has until tomorrow morning to give me her decision. She didn't protest, but said that she was going to talk with him. Meanwhile, I'm working on Plan B, which is to talk with the landlord and ask them to take my name off the lease or Luna's. It's good that I started early with my Plan B of talking to the landlord to change the lease, because my friend wasn't willing to change the situation. And I'm not one to cut off a friend forever after the first offense, but I'm not going to wait forever either. So my advice is, always have a Plan B, but at the same time this was happening, other things were happening as well. Which have to do with what I've been finding out. After everything that occurred last time, I was a bit suspicious of Luke's last-minute renovation, because things don't normally work that way. Even a landlord has to inform tenants months in advance if he wants to do something. And even if it was Luke's fault and he did something that caused damage, he would still have to give him time to get things done, and it's not something that happens overnight. The landlord can't just tell him to leave and do whatever he wants. I knew where he lived, so I asked around and managed to get in touch with his neighbors. It was really funny, the neighbors hated him, so we ended up making a good connection with the Luke hating club. The neighbors told me there were no repairs underway and Luke was likely lying. In fact, Luke was actually moving out, as he had pretty much emptied his apartment. This made me incredibly angry, because that meant Luke wasn't just lying to both of us, but planning to stay in our apartment rent-free indefinitely. And if he wasn't lying to both of us, he had at least done it with me. Keep reading to know the answer to that. After getting all the info, I was just waiting for the right moment to tell Luna alone. But since she was always around Luke, I had to wait until later that day. Yesterday, Luna was cooking by herself, or so it seemed, so I went over. But all of a sudden, Luke came out of nowhere. He stood up and turned out he was there, just getting things out of the cabinet below. I turned around, but I couldn't help but overhear what they were talking about. Luna was asking Luke if there was any chance I'd find out about the whole apartment renovation thing. Luke said there was no way I'd investigate that much, and by the time it started seeming suspicious, they'd already have done what they were planning to do. He said he felt a bit bad about manipulating me these months, but when Luke asked her if she would do it again for him, she just cheerfully said, always. Their plan is to kick me out and stay with the apartment, which is a stupid plan. It would have been easier to ask me from the beginning, or even it's what I thought they would do by taking me off the lease. But there is something about all this, the lying, the manipulation, the malice of them, that makes me now want to do something just to annoy them. And you know why they are doing all this, instead of just talking it over with me? Because Luna is jealous of me, since she's told him that she thinks I look at him too much. Which is funny, because he's living here. I don't know what she expects, to look at the ceiling every time I enter a room when he's there. While he seems angry about disrespecting him when I yelled at him that one time. Do they want to be petty? I can be petty too. Update 3. Many have said I should just leave and save myself all the trouble, that I'd be stooping to their level by trying to get even. But I'm not looking for revenge for the simple satisfaction it brings, but because I'm tired of bad people getting away with their actions. Don't you just hate it when someone cuts in line at the supermarket? Do you just let it go because you don't want any more trouble? I hate entitled people. If the one I thought was my friend had told me she wanted to move in with her boyfriend here and to leave it to her, I wouldn't have had a problem. But the manipulation just because she thinks I'm jealous is what hurts the most. A week ago, after coming back from work, I went straight up to the roof because I didn't even want to see Luna's face. I just stayed there thinking and messing around on my phone, but as I was coming down, I saw Luke go into another apartment 2 floors below us. I knew a couple lived there, but nothing else. I waited for about 10 minutes, but they didn't come out, which made me very suspicious. Then I went back to our place and found the apartment empty, so I called Luna and asked where she was. She told me she was at work and Luke was out with his friends. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do some investigating. The apartment is owned by a married couple, Indira and John. The husband, John, usually works long hours and comes home late at night. Which made me assume I'd found something juicy. After confirming that I was 100% sure he was cheating, I thought about what I should do. I had time, because I had already spoken to the landlord, but he asked me for a few days to fix the contract. If I was a good friend, I would have to go and tell Luna everything I discovered. But Luna wasn't my friend, and I had no reason to tell her anything. But I owed her nothing, and if she was the apartment complex's cheater, that wasn't my problem. If she couldn't go through the door with those big antlers, that was her problem. That's what happens for thinking with the lower one and not the upper one. For forgetting I was your friend all this time. But there was someone who deserved to know the truth more than Luna, the husband of the cheating woman. I had a picture of Luke entering the apartment, so I met with John and told him the truth. He was pretty upset, understandably so, and refused to believe his wife would ever cheat on him. But pictures are pictures, and not even he could explain why Luke was entering his apartment in the middle of the day. The interesting thing for Luna is that she is about to be evicted from the apartment, and also indirectly discover that Luke is cheating. At another time, I would feel bad, now I don't care anymore. Update 4. It took a few days for my neighbor John to do something with his wife. I don't know if he was in shock, getting things ready with the lawyer, or what. But John finally showed up at his house early and caught them both red-handed. Literally, Luke with his hands on his wife, the dough. The two of them in bed, preparing something that wasn't pizza. I'd say preparing a baby, but they'll have been careful, I guess. But they were preparing something. I wasn't there, but I know John wasn't happy. I didn't see this because I was in my apartment, but the neighbors here have told me everything. Yeah, it's that kind of apartment complex where the neighbors gossip. And with something like this, it was like throwing gasoline on the fire. John punched Luke multiple times and kicked him out of the house. He also kicked out his wife and yelled at both of them, telling everyone what they had done, while everyone watched from outside. Luke was scared of what Luna would do when she found out. Roughly 2 hours later, Luna arrived home and found out immediately the same way I did. Luke was hiding in his room, and she almost broke down the door. I don't know why, but I can't help but imagine him hidden under the bed. He begged her to hear him out because the rumors weren't true, but she refused to listen and kept hitting him on the head. I was in the kitchen. She kicked him out with pretty much all his stuff flying out into the hallway, and then she looked at me with those puppy dog eyes and started crying. I felt bad for her, so I decided to give her another chance and become best friends forever again, having a sleepover that night, badmouthing Luke and drinking ourselves to sleep. No, that's clearly not what happened. Instead, I asked her if there was anything she wanted to tell me, anything she had hidden from me that she wanted to get off her chest. But she played dumb and told me that she had never hidden anything from me. At that moment I looked at her and said, "Come on, Luna, I already know." She continued playing dumb, so I said, "Look, I heard everything and I know what you guys were planning." She started apologizing, because she made a mistake and wasn't thinking straight, that she was jealous because things were going too well with him and was terrified. I responded that that's exactly what Luke had done and wasn't forgiving him. Also, that she was jealous of me, when I hadn't given her any reason, yet he was cheating on her, though with the person she least expected. I then told her I had already spoken to the landlord and that she had a few days to pack her things and leave, because I'd paid a bit extra to end the old lease and start a new one with only my name on it. She told me I couldn't do that to her, not now, because she couldn't be without a place right when she'd just lost her boyfriend, let alone how she did. Then, Luna started crying and told me she needed me. I told her I needed her too, but she was the one who betrayed me first. After that, she took all her things and left. She tried pleading with me one last time, but I told her to not even try and told her to never show her face to me again. I actually haven't seen or heard from her since then, no texts, no calls, and I hope she leaves me alone. So, that's it guys. Currently, I'm living alone. Update 5. Because you guys have asked for more updates, here's what's been going on this past month since I got rid of Luna and Luke. John is divorcing his wife, and I don't know where she might be right now. There are rumors among the neighbors, but rumors of people who like to drink a little. They're the type that say that now the wife is dating a drug dealer and stuff. But if they talk about Luke, the only thing he was trafficking was neurons out of his head. I know a few things about Luke, like that he tried to move back to where he lived before, but neither the neighbors nor his landlord wanted him there. I don't know why he has a problem with smells, but a lot of his problems living there were because he couldn't stand it when a neighbor cooked something. After that, I lost track of him. I don't know anything. And my friend never wrote me anything, which I appreciate. At least she has been a good friend and has realized that harassing me wasn't going to lead to anything. She moved back in with her parents in her hometown, and from what I know, she is depressed with everything that's happened. Otherwise, all quiet. I've increased my taco nights to 3 times a week, and I can now binge watch any show I want without waiting for Luna to catch up so we can watch together. If you guys have any to recommend, especially ones that pair well with taco nights, I'll be reading.